Hello and welcome to Between Root and Star, an online conversation about, well, everything sacred between root and star. The earth, the sacred beings of earth, the sky, the universe. Your hosts are Stephanie Naftal and Ginny Watts, two women who took many years to find each other in Montana and became old friends immediately. You look lovely.
You can't hit it and then be like,
Is
are
it
you
okay if I
ready
turn
to
it on, right?
record? Are you ready to record? We're already recording. Say your wise ass comment, Stephanie.
Okay, that's weird. The reflection off my glasses, these are for computer and they're just, it's like, so I'm like trying to find, okay.
I know I've been struggling with my lighting because it's like really bright over there.
It's because we're in our natural habitat.
Our
It's not,
houses.
whatever that means. Okay. Do you have an idea of what you want to talk about today?
Yeah, I want to ask you questions about this gathering.
The gathering of the mystics.
So I'm just really curious how it came about.
Yes, I am happy to talk about that.
Yeah,
So,
that's an easy question.
there was a gathering here called the Fearless Women's Summit.
Yeah.
And so I was there with Yamama, and Lacey Gangenbacher was there representing her business, which is Mountain Witch. And Angela Devani was there, that we know she does the holistic fair in the spring in Livingston. And Tamara Leach. And I need to learn more about what she does, but she also is a light worker and really interested in spirituality and in creating community. So we were all there, and somebody came up to Lacey and said, "When is there going to be a witches summit?" And that just lit a fire under her. She's like, in fact, several people mentioned that to her, and she was like, "You're right. When is there going to be a witches summit?" And so she just contacted Angela and Tamara and me and said, "Hey, I want to do this. What do you think? I just got the message that you should be involved and let's do it." And I mean, she is like, she was shot out of a cannon. She is on it. And so as we talked, we realized that we really wanted to include as many people in the area in Montana and maybe even beyond we wanted to broaden the crowd that we were reaching out to. And so to include other nature-based practitioners, other kinds of light workers, people who are interested in traditional spiritualities, so to bring us all together. And so it went from the Witches Summit to a gathering of mystics. And that's how it came about.
Cool.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And we sat together at Angela's, at the holistic fair, and it really became clear to me that for me, it's important that we begin to find community. It's really hard for people who are outside of mainstream religion because there isn't in a lot of places, and for a lot of people, there isn't a church, there isn't a community. And so we're solo practitioners. You might have a coven here or a gathering there. And a lot of people still are afraid to be open and to embrace and talk about their spiritual path because it's not mainstream. And so for me, it's really my goal, and I think this is the goal for all of us. I think I can speak for all of us. We want to create community. We want to have a sense of community in Montana, that we are together and we are supporting one another, and it's safe. This is one of our protected rights in the United States, is freedom of religion. And this is our spiritual practice. It's not a religion per se, but I believe that umbrella still covers spiritual practice, So, so that's my investment in it. Yeah, it's interesting. I think that there was some pushback not amongst the four of us necessarily, but from other people who are connected, friends or associates who were concerned about calling it a witch's summit
Mm.
because of the response to the term witch. And that was really interesting to me. And yeah, that's the whole term, using the term witch and Wicca. I did some research to find out about those two terms because we're in the sort of the folklore of modern witchcraft is that witch came from the word for wise woman, and that it's, that's really a compliment and so on and so forth. And that's actually not true. Witche or witch is a German word for like demon. It means an evil person. And actually, Wicca is the feminine. Witch is masculine, and Wicca is the feminine.
Of
And
course.
so, and we've taken Wicca to mean something else. And so, there's some power in taking this word that was used as a label of evil and used to repress and murder people, and to take it as our own, to claim it. But lots of people don't know that that's the case. And I wonder what that would be like. I think would be a great dialogue around language and what's the power of language and how do we want to name ourselves in a way that claims energy and dispels fear and creates love. And the fact that we moved it from Witches Summit to a gathering of mystics, I think is not totally that. I think there was that desire to be inclusive, but you got to wonder how much is there that kind of underlying, are we going to get bad press kind
Well,
of.
there's also people out there that wouldn't call themselves witches or don't consider themselves witches, but
Right.
mystic would maybe work better. But
Exactly.
the words in Spanish, bruja,
Hmm.
for witch, comes from a word that means compass, the one to
Yes.
show the way.
Yeah. And wizard in the German, that's actually the word that means a wise person,
Hmm.
which comes from a word meaning to divine or divination. And
Hmm.
that's actually why that was a sign of being a consort of the devil, was that you could understand, you could see,
Right.
you were a seer. And so again, so if you
It
think
doesn't
about
surprise
that,
me. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say, if you think about that, the idea of being able to see, to divine, that is, I think that is a word that most people would be happy to embrace,
Yeah.
But yeah, you were going to say.
That it just doesn't surprise me that people are still a little in hiding,
Hmm.
and I get it. It's not just about anything ancestral or knowing our own history
Right.
it's, as humans,
Hmm.
but it's just scary because it isn't mainstream.
Right.
And there are all these negative connotations, and people do think weird things about it.
Yes.
And it took me a long time here to really let out what I was doing.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I think it's interesting that we've forgotten the meaning of the word when it was first used, and yet it's still there. I know of people who have advertised something about a witch something, and in sort of mainstream media here in the Gallup Valley, and had this huge response. We're going to pray for you. I can't believe that you're admitting this. You are clearly misguided. Here are Bible verses I want you to read. Like, and it wasn't, you need to die. It was loving, it was caring, it was couched in that, but just the intense level of fear that it elicits in other people, still with the same connotation of the word, yeah,
Mhm.
as the original use of it. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
very interesting.
Yeah.
And I sometimes wonder where this country's going, honestly.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, no one's rounding up witches right now, but if it becomes the theocracy that they want, why not round up
Mhm.
witches? The independent thinkers, those were the witches.
Right,
Those were who they wanted. If
right,
you were an independent thinker and a woman, God forbid, a woman that thought independently, you were
mhm,
rounded up.
right. Or who was successful, who had financial independence.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, who stepped outside the status quo.
Mhm.
Yeah. The thing that is powerful to me is that I think indigenous people stepping up and speaking out on behalf of their own sovereignty and their own right to practice their traditions, I think has been very powerful and beneficial and has actually benefited those of us that are practicing New Age, Neo-Celtic, whatever, you know. And I think about you with a connection um, to indigenous spiritual practices,
Mhm.
not here in America, not in North America, but yeah. Do you have like, how does that sit with culture there and with the Catholic Church, which I assume is a predominant religious force,
The problem there isn't the Catholic Church, it's the evangelical church.
which is
And
here
they're
too,
still,
like, same thing.
Mhm. Yeah, they've done a good job around the world of indoctrinating people and making them afraid. And there is still a danger there for some people to be really open about what they do
Mhm,
in Central America. I mean, I don't remember what year it was, but there was an elder in a village that practiced spirituality, and I think it was the evangelicals burned him. There's video of it. It's absolutely horrifying. Um, and I know of people who live in Central America who had to, like, they're very careful
mhm.
about what they put out there and to who.
Yeah, yeah.
And if I mean, just, if we want to do a little evangelical bashing, I'm just tired enough and grouchy enough at the moment to do so.
Yeah.
Brazil. What happened with Brazil that mirrored what happened here was fully the doing of the evangelicals getting in there and convincing people this, that, and the other thing.
Mhm.
And then they had Bolsonaro, and then they had January 6th, well, their own January 6th. And yeah, I mean, it's disturbing to watch humanity go backwards.
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, as we have conversations about trying to stay positive and forward looking and progressive thinking about humanity and the era that we're going into or are now in,
Mhm.
and all those kinds of conversations about
Right.
humanity and the earth and everything. And then you see people just going backwards. I mean, not just a church, but all those people around the world going backwards is disturbing.
Australia, Mexico. I mean, what happened after COVID and just that huge backlash?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I understand that the last grasp at the patriarchy, fossil fuels, forests, that makes sense to me from the most powerful people in the world. Of course, they're in the last, what I think is the last grasp at
Mhm.
all those things, white supremacy, power, everything. But when they have millions of followers, that's what makes me go like, oh, are we going to turn this around? I don't know that we're going to turn this around.
Mhm.
That's just being
Yeah.
totally honest. I go back and forth with it, which
So,
is why I do the work I do and why I created Sustainability Festival in September, like
which
just
we need to
trying
talk
to
about.
do things that I don't like anything community building. I feel like that's where it's going to be at is in
Mhm.
community community building, having that, taking care of each other. I don't know what else to do at this point. The education is good, and I'm glad people are doing it and they should keep doing it,
Hmm.
but it's clearly not done the whole job.
Hmm.
It's just a part of what's been needed.
Hmm.
I'm talking about, environmental education and things like that.
Right.
It's a
Right.
part of it, but it's a small part of it because that has been going on for decades. And people are still throwing garbage out the windows and cigarette butts in the forest and garbage on the national forest and throwing beer cans at national parks. I mean, it's like I heard Terry Tempest Williams say, and she was quoting an indigenous man from, I think he was from Greenland, and his mother telling him, it's not about here anymore, it's about here. And I just always think about that because it's exactly where we are at this point.
Yeah. And I just have to laugh because I can literally remember when I was in eighth grade, which was the end of the 60s. And we were cleaning up park and we were talking about overpopulation, which no one talks about. We were talking about climate chaos. And I knew that in seventh and eighth grade. And here we are, saying, hello, people. But you bring up a good point because a couple of things I was thinking when you were talking. One is my question was going to be, so how do you think it is meaningful to step up and speak out and be more out about nature-based spirituality, caring? Do you feel like that is a reasonable risk to take if it feels risky?
Totally.
Yeah.
I think it's time for everybody to come out. I'm not talking about in Central America. The dangers are different there.
Yeah.
It's a
No,
different
here.
evangelicalism there than here.
Hmm.
No, it's time for everybody to
Right.
come out of the shadows.
Yes, absolutely. The inter
It's had absolutely no impact on my life to do that here.
Yeah.
I I I worried that okay, we're a small town
Hmm.
and there's plenty of small town thinking that goes on here. And I'm sure there's been whispering about me
Hmm.
and shit talking me.
Hmm.
No doubt. I mean, I know of some of the shit talking,
Hmm.
but it hasn't really impacted my life. It's not like my business took a hit because I told people I was doing mind spiritual healing work
Right.
or clearing houses with copal or you know what I mean? Like my business didn't take a hit from
Right.
that.
Right.
I didn't lose friends. I didn't get nasty text messages from that. That happens when I get involved in the political end of town, but not from coming out with like
Right.
what I'm doing. But it did take me time, and I did tested the waters with a little thing here, and I tested the waters with nothing happened. So I just kept putting out more and more and more
Mhm.
stuff, and all I ever heard was, "That's really cool."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's worth it if people are into it. And whether it's part of their work, like professional work, or just a ritual they have that they do
Hmm.
once a day or something like that, I think it's so important because for all of those people, there's all these other people who don't want to say anything and
Right.
like keep it hidden and they are afraid of being judged. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of people like that.
Yes. Yeah. Afraid of being attacked,
Mhm.
like you said, having serious repercussions.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that in the midst of the Bush Cheney, uh, when Cheney was president, um, I I think that I, what people didn't recognize is there were polls that were conducted, and over 50% of Americans wanted recycling and wanted expanded recycling. Over 50% of Americans were concerned about um, the what was happening with the climate and wanted electric cars, wanted, to disengage from fossil fuels. And much more than 50% of the population was interested in organic foods
Mhm.
and reduced, uh, plastic bags and
Those numbers
dependence on
have
fossil.
been high for a long time and they continue to be high, but people don't vote on it still.
Isn't, and which is just interesting.
They vote on the economy still,
Mhm.
which I don't know. I've said for a long, 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 long time. It's like, what good is what's in your wallet if you can't breathe the air or drink the
If
water?
you're
Which is
dead
kind of
and
where
your
we are
planet
in
is
a
dead.
sense. Yeah, I mean, we can breathe the air, especially in Red Lodge, but everybody's with their water bottles and water filters and all that. I mean, I don't understand that that gets a back seat to the economy. What good is a strong economy if your kids are growing up exposed to a bunch of chemicals?
Right,
I don't understand it at all.
right. Well, the interesting thing is the reason I think that the economy is the propelling force behind votes is because it's an emotional issue, actually. And that's the thing that I think is interesting is the stuff that has come out. Like, I've talked to you about the book, The Persuaders, and I'll have to look up the author's name. But his point is, and this is not, and he's not the only person that I've heard say this, is that Republicans are really good at connecting with people emotionally, at understanding that the heart, like you said, it's not about up here anymore, it's about here. And that's true. But Democrats are terrible. They educate, which is a mistake, and they educate from a really arrogant place, quite honestly. And
Yeah.
I am guilty of that. I know that I do that. And so, and that doesn't convince people and that doesn't address their fears. And the idea of being able to meet heart to heart and also of having it be a discussion that happens between us and our neighbors
Yeah.
so that we begin to recognize the danger is not either the MAGA or the tree hugger across the street. It's the corporations that actually own the politics. And I think people are getting that idea more and more.
Yeah.
Um, but
I
it's,
would
yeah,
guess that a lot of sort of more witchy people went MAGA,
interesting.
because they believed the lies that these people were gonna not bow to corporations. I have absolutely no idea who would believe those, how you believe those lies when there's decades of evidence that this man and all the others around him would never make those choices.
Right.
But I think that's probably one group of people that decided to become MAGA for that reason. We know there's a lot of reasons people decided to
Mhm.
vote MAGA, but
And that would make sense. I mean, bottom line is fear. That's what, as
that's what I was
Republicans.
going to say. They're very, very good at stoking fear.
Yeah,
And yeah, the Democrats are just, as a party, not as some
indeed.
individuals, but as a party, just completely useless as an opposition to growing authoritarianism. We're not an authoritarian country. We're not a democracy anymore. We're
Right.
in the middle.
Right.
And yeah, they're completely useless in
Mhm.
this era when you need, frankly, Nazi hunters and not
Right.
compromising.
Well, and you need for people to be, I think that's the appeal of AOC,
Mhm.
is that she does speak, she's smart, but she doesn't lecture. She like comes at it like, here are the facts, like this is messed up, and I'm angry about it.
Mhm.
And my constituents are angry about it, and I care. And here's the heart. Like she really comes from a heart place, I
Yeah.
think.
So,
And yeah.
yeah.
I think it's tough as Democrats to argue that we're working for the little people when we're being led by,
We're not
we're
anymore. That's
not.
not, the goals of the party are clearly not that anymore. For
No,
a low income person in this country, um, standing up for them is not what the party is about anymore because they're getting all the same corporate money.
Exactly.
Not all the
Exactly.
same and not always in the same numbers as the GOP,
But
but they're clearly getting all that money.
absolutely. You look at the Obama McCain, uh, when they were running against each other, Obama came out and he said, I do not support offshore drilling. I will not support offshore drilling. McCain came out and said, I do not support offshore drilling. Things went along for a few weeks. They both got massive contributions from the oil company PACs,
Yeah.
and they both came out and said, we are absolutely supporting offshore drilling. Like,
Yeah.
it's like,
It's such a betrayal.
yeah, well, it's not a political system anymore. It's a corporate oligarchy.
It's a kleptocracy and
Yeah.
oligarchy. I mean, you can call it, there's
Yeah.
so many great names out there for what we are now.
Yes. Yeah. And I do think people are getting fed up. I think that there are Republicans getting fed up.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's like this is so weird having this conversation and it's going to go online and anybody who sees it is going to know exactly what we think about things. And it feels more dangerous for me here in Red Lodge to talk
Hmm.
about politics
Hmm.
than spirituality. Um, but there's so much betrayal within the party and it happens in the state as well.
Absolutely.
And anyone who voted for Trump because they said he would end wars
Hmm.
and give us a great economy. And what was the other thing that they always say? Oh, and open up the Epstein files. Those are the three things that people say. And now they say, well, he's not doing any of those things. So now we don't like him.
Hmm.
And I haven't had anyone say that to me face to face. But if they did, I think my first question would be, what were your values before you voted for him for those reasons that you thought it was okay, given all the other things he said he would do, to vote for him for that reason? I
Hmm.
mean, it didn't take much digging to look at Project 2025 and to know what the plan was. And I don't know why anybody would think they wouldn't do all those things.
Right.
So, what were the values that now your only concern is the Epstein files and wars? That all those other things are still okay then?
Hmm.
I mean, it's just really confusing to me. It's hard for me to celebrate someone who voted for him for those reasons
Well,
and
and
now doesn't like him for keys because he's not doing those things. Like,
right.
what were your values to start with?
Right.
I can't celebrate that reason to not ever vote for him again,
Hmm.
assuming that he gets to run again or whatever the heck
Right.
happens.
Or someone like him. The interesting thing is, I think it's interesting you use the term celebrate. I was looking at a, a thing on Instagram from a woman who is a recovering MAGA. And she said, the thing is that you all did know those things, but these people really didn't. You say, it doesn't take much to go and research the, um,
2025.
yeah, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Well, don't. And there are people who they don't have the time, they don't have the interest or the inclination. They wait for someone to tell them something that resonates with them. And what she said was, so hold,
Okay.
what she said was, I'm not asking you to celebrate them, but I am asking you to encourage the positive. So, right, like
Yeah.
it's that idea of validating the valid. So go ahead.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And if someone did say that to me, I'm not going to get like mad at them because they
Right.
voted for Trump
Of
or
course.
something.
Of
But
course.
it is a question I would have for them. But what I was going to say is they may not have looked at Project 2025, but they certainly heard him numerous times call Mexican people rapists and murderers and all
Right.
those crazy things constantly coming out of his mouth. That's a values issue.
Oh, 100%.
And so I agree that they didn't look up that document, but they're still hearing all that other stuff. And I'd like to ask someone, how is that okay? Oh, he's just being funny. Oh, he's just,
Right.
locker room talk and whatever, all the things that we've heard for like a decade now. And
I think,
it still don't, doesn't make sense to me at all.
right. I do think that I think that that is, I actually think that's a great question. I'm not saying don't ask that question. It was that idea of celebrating because I think that's a lot of like, why should we be happy? Why should we be happy they voted for him twice? Well, and that's a fair complaint. But I do think those questions are important. And those are the questions like I really would love to sit down and just help me understand. So do you believe in Jesus' teachings? And if you do, I'm confused. Like, help me understand where's that bridge,
Oh,
right? And for some people, I think it is, I wonder how much of that is cognitive dissonance.
for sure.
Well, because he didn't start out being that outrageous.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he has been emboldened by the support of his followers. It was still obvious to a lot of us, but I think people go for this part feels good. I'll deal with the rest of that later. And now I've listened to him and I've argued on his behalf. Well, now that must mean I really believe in him.
Yeah.
And then it was easy because it was the whole fake news thing. He didn't actually say that. Well, that actually wasn't him. That was, it's AI or whatever. And so again, not arguing that hasn't caused a lot of damage. And how do we find then can we find a way to dialogue that helps educate, that where they would be open, where we could connect and say, we're on the same side? Because I think a lot of those people thought he wasn't a politician. I'm going to vote for him because he's already rich. He won't benefit,
He's been
right?
trying to be president since he's been talking about it since the 80s.
I know. He was a Democrat before. Did any of you remember that? Remember that part when he was good
Because he
buddies?
was getting what he needed from the Democrats in New York.
Exactly. So I do want to go back to you're talking about, I don't know. Is there more you want to say there?
I was going to say a few years ago, it was, during the first term, and I tried to create a group of people that could come together who were conservatives, liberals, blah, blah, blah. Like
Hmm.
people that wouldn't normally, people who don't think the same way about politics,
Hmm.
whether that was liberals, progressive, Democrat, Republican, like a very balanced group of people.
Hmm.
Um, no, this is a woman and I talked about putting it together because she was a Republican and I'm a Democrat. And so I said, we like talking to each other. I said, well, why don't we make this bigger and invite people?
Hmm.
And I said, no jackass whispers, no angry, crazy
Right.
people, right?
Hmm.
And like a week later, I saw her. I said, I got like two or three people. Who'd you get? And she was like, I'm kind of appalled by how many of my conservative friends are jerks. She
Did you
was
give
like,
her a
"You're
big kiss
so
on the cheek?
angry." She's like, I was like, oh, that person's perfect. And I'd walk up to them and I'd be about to ask them, and then they'd say something really mean about a liberal person in town, and she'd be like, okay, not that person. And she's like, it just kept happening and over. So I haven't found anyone yet.
Mhm.
So eventually, after another year, it came back in my head again, and I just tried to do it. And it was during COVID, so it was on Zoom. And
Well, at least that way nobody would get shot or something.
no
No,
jackass
no,
whispers,
no fist fights breaking out. Yeah.
no fist fights. And it was just a start. It was like maybe a couple conversations. It was just a start,
Mhm.
but it was so hard to find conservative people who were even interested in talking.
Yeah.
It was really hard. There were definitely people who were Democrats, maybe moderate Democrats, whatever,
Hmm.
who were like, "Oh, great idea. We need to be doing this."
Hmm.
But it would be like us and like one person that's a Republican. And I'd be like, okay, don't let's not gang up on him,
Mm-hmm.
like everybody take their turn or whatever. It just was very challenging. And at the end of just beating my head against the wall to try to get people to do it more, to take this beginning and good start and
Mm-hmm.
just go with it long enough till it becomes something different, um, and outlives COVID. And it just was like, it was exhausting. I just
Mm-hmm.
like felt uninspired
Mm-hmm. You're
by the
just way
lack of,
ahead of the curve, Stephanie. You just
again with that.
I do think, though, what you said about continuing to do the good work, like getting out there and educating people, and more than educating, but getting them to take action, to have these actions. And so, would you talk about the event that you're putting on?
The Sustainability Festival.
Yes.
Okay, it's September 10th, and the idea is that everyone who has a booth will, if you want to sell and market your stuff, that's great, but you have to have an education component of some sort, demoing something, educating about something. Um, I just, I just really hope that it becomes like an inspiring event for people, that we who are there with tables will inspire each other. And
Yeah.
then people who come to it will be inspired, because I don't buy into that. It's like, I don't buy into this whole like, you have to recycle and you have to change your light bulbs, and if you don't, like, you're a bad person and stuff,
Right.
because that's actually not changing the world. That's not actually changing much. In fact, the
Hmm.
new light bulbs are toxic in a whole different way, and
Right.
recycling is toxic in a whole different way. Not that I'm saying don't recycle, but it's like it's time to go beyond the whole idea that that's the litmus test.
Right.
And so it is about the corporations.
Mhm.
They're the ones that actually need to stop. And that's like, I don't know how to touch that,
Mhm.
because we did touch it. Standards were raised and corporations met them. Coal plants were taken out of circulation, and that was a good idea too. And
Yeah.
they were failing anyway.
Mhm.
And now the coal plants are going to be brought back, and the Green New Deal is gone. And, it's just like it has to be about us, but not in a way that the corporations have said it's about you and you and you and you and you. You have to make your changes and we won't make any changes. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
It is more, though, like, how do we reduce our plastic use? How do we, on an individual level, on a community level, actually change what the community looks like if, say, our city council isn't going to make any moves?
Mhm.
And there haven't been big moves made by our city council here,
Mhm.
and definitely not by our county commissioners, and they're not going to.
Mhm.
We have to do it.
Right.
It is from the bottom up. It's from grassroots up. So when I started to just really think about that, I was like, yeah, writing letters to the city council is dumb. Like, we have to create a movement and let that rise.
And I think it's helping people understand also this is where the benefits are and attaching it to their values and their emotions.
Yeah.
And so and that there are things that like, this is so exciting to me. Like there are things to educate people about in terms of if the state people in the state of Montana, which is a rural state, if even 75% of us did not go out and buy oil products for one day, did not go to the gas station for one day, that would be that would be an earthquake in that would send tremors. And so that's
Can you
also,
imagine the PR campaign that would come out of something like that by the fossil fuel industry?
yeah. And why would it happen? Right? Like, why would that come out? I mean, that's a sign that we've hit, we're doing, do more.
Yeah.
We've hit that. the painful
Yeah.
point. So, yeah.
The original name for this was Sustainable Rural Development Festival, which I kind of liked it because I was like, it explains exactly what it is.
Hmm.
But I'm like, it's such a mouthful. But that's really what it is. Like, we have to figure out a way to live, especially in rural areas, and develop, but we have to do it sustainably. And
Yeah.
we have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm not really seeing years and years of signs that say bring your own bag and recycle. That's not really changing anything.
No.
But I think if we got together, we could start to make a change locally and then maybe more, because like I said before, I really think it's about community.
Right.
That's where the future is. And,
Right.
you know, there's a maniac running the country, a few of them, and no one knows what's going to happen. But I really don't think whether it's a pandemic or a maniac, I don't think that we should be in a rural place and worry about food access
Right.
because for 2 or 3 weeks, the trucks stop coming. Like, I just think that's crazy that that's how we live, that we have 72 hours before the shelves are empty and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And I just like, I mean, there's lots of people trying to create lots of things.
Hmm.
And I just want us to create all that and do it sustainably.
Yes. I look at just driving around and looking at the farmland that is no more in the Gallatin Valley. It's very interesting to me.
It's
Like,
super
where do you
sad.
think your food is coming from?
They plowed up all that nice soil.
Scraped it off and then resold it for people to put on their tiny little lawns. Yeah.
Yeah. And we know that that doesn't work.
Right?
And and if I can just say for a minute, like it isn't just like it's really easy when you talk about sustainability to just talk about humans. But what I want to build is something that's more like, yeah, we aren't the only ones actually that rely on
Yes.
a healthy planet and a healthy environment.
Yes.
I mean, I just read that after the big fires, it would have been maybe 2021, they in the Southwest,
Hmm.
biologists were picking up hundreds of thousands of songbirds in New Mexico, just dead on the ground. And the only thing people could come up with was they fled their forests too early because of the fires on their migration and ended up there and were just, they didn't have the strength because they were exhausted. Hundreds of thousands just dead on the ground. I mean, it's just really time that we think about all the species and not just our species. That is like, of course, like a very indigenous way of looking at things, a traditional way of looking at the world. And they are the ones who know everything that we're supposed to be doing and
Hmm.
how we could be living. That would make much more sense
Yeah.
than what we're doing now. I don't know how to make that transition, but I just know that thinking of us as the center of the universe is the dumbest, craziest, most mentally sick thing on the planet right now, that we're the center of everything. It's as stupid as thinking that the Earth is the center of the galaxy.
Right.
Like, we know better. We
Right.
know we're all interconnected. Yeah, anyway, blah, blah,
No,
blah.
no. I think that's
We go
really
on about it
important.
forever.
We both could. I 100, because then I'm thinking, and what about the spirit of the water? And what about the spirit of the air? And what about the spirit of the land and the trees and the plants? Because if you don't have those, so, for
And then
me,
they're all communicating with each other under the soil.
yes, yes,
It's such a beautiful way to see the world and interact with the world and live in the world. And that people are instead thinking that they're the center of it and these are not sentient beings all around us, that this cap to my water bottle, where do you think this comes from? Like, everything comes from the earth.
mhm,
Every single ridiculous thing comes from the earth.
mhm.
Like, Why? Yeah, it just blows my mind. And
And I think the challenge is that we have to have both and because the fact is people are selfish
yeah,
and they're not going to change until it becomes too uncomfortable to stay the same.
yeah,
So it's this dance and it's got to be a multi-pronged approach. And again, it connects back to heart. In the persuaders, what they talk about is when you can talk with a person and help them make personal connection to someone who's going to suffer the consequences of a law that is prejudice,
yeah,
basically. For example, about around uh, immigration.
yeah,
When you can connect them personally, then they can get on board. And so again, I think it's connecting people personally with
mhm,
plants and the beauty of the outdoors. And I think that that's the thing that's in a way most surprising and most disappointing is all of you folks that are being careless about the environment, you're hunters and fishermen. You
yeah,
want to be able to hunt. This is a big deal. They're going to take away our guns and we aren't going to be able to hunt. And this is our family tradition. We've done it for years. But you understand if there's no land for the deer to live on, the pheasant to live on, the grouse to live on, you're not going to have them to hunt. If the
yeah,
water is polluted because of lead and um, microplastics and blah, 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 then you've got no fish to fish. Like you're not going to be
yeah.
going
The
out and finding.
DEQ just came out with their PFAS report. Guess what? The worst. Okay, I didn't comb over it, taking notes and
Mhm.
everything. I just sort of skimmed the tables and the few places that they listed.
So you need to tell me and our six listeners.
The worst was
Wait,
the
that what is
skeleton.
DEQ? Tell me what
DEQ,
the
okay, sorry. Department of Environmental Quality.
okay.
So it's a state Montana agency, and they're supposed to regulate industry.
And the
Supposed to.
and what was the name of the report?
It was the PFAS report. I don't remember exactly what it was called. I
What
got
does
it
that
via
stand for?
FW. So
PFAS.
that PFAS is one of those forever chemicals. It's like a group of chemicals that are
Okay.
forever chemicals.
So it's a
So
poly
they use
something.
them
Blah, blah,
in
blah.
firefighting foams and like probably freezer paper, anything that has to be like waterproof, furniture, all of
Fabrics,
your gear, your waterproof gear, whatever. Like,
Gore-Tex and all that. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's all PFAS. And then, yeah, the East Gallatin was the highest numbers that I saw in the state.
Yeah.
And then the second was the Yellowstone east of Billings.
Yeah.
There are not many samples in this report. It's like 10 samples here, 5 samples of fish here, but they're shocking the fish to gather them and then test them for these chemicals. I mean, I'm glad they're still doing that, but it's like
Who
we're not going to
knows?
do anything
But who
about it.
knows what does anybody hear that?
I don't know. I got it in an FWP report, a Fish, Wildlife, and Parks report, I think is how it came to me
Mhm.
because I get their emails, but they're not going to do anything about those numbers is the thing. The DEQ, a lot of people don't understand how little they actually get to do. So, like a few years ago, when Trout Unlimited tried to pass that mining
Right.
referendum, I-186 or one, I think it's
Yes.
186, and all they were really asking for, as I'm sure you know, is that the mines put into a fund. It wasn't about not allowing mining. It was about not allowing them to close up shop and hit the road and leave all that for the taxpayers to
Right.
clean.
You clean it up, folks. We're out of here because we've made
Yeah.
our money. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And when those mines get the most dangerous is when they just leave them. So, of course, it did not pass because there's a lot of money in the MMA and the Montana Mining Association. And so it didn't pass, and there was a lot of misinformation. Disinformation was insanely off the charts in that campaign.
I had a
But
friend who wouldn't vote for it because her husband worked for a mining corporation and he would lose his job and she was weeping and she didn't want to do
who
and
knew that was going to happen?
they voted it down and the mine closed up a year later and he was out of his like it was like
Yeah.
oh
Yeah, no,
baby.
those decisions are made based on economic reasons,
Oh
not
yeah.
based on. And the other reason that this was so important that this passed is because the truth is that DEQ doesn't have any power to keep a mine from opening. So when a mine wants to open, any of these new mines that want to open, they just go to the DEQ and they propose, and the DEQ says, we don't like this, fix this. And so they just say, fix this, fix this, fix it. That's all they can do. They cannot turn down a mine from opening, even if they have no money set aside to clean up when they're done.
And
So
what company is going to do that? None of
not
them.
unless they're forced to put into the bond like that law would have forced them to do.
Mhm.
It's just, it's so much crazy. It's
But
just a lot of crazy.
but the way to but it's person to person. I mean, that's what I think that that's really important. So if you can bring people in and to say as a community, here's the truth. We're not trying to say that you guys that work in the mining industry are bad. We're not trying to say that you got, whatever. What we're trying to say is let's look at the consequences and figure out what's going to be best. And that whole idea of 7 generations, let's do that. What about your grandkids? Because I think a lot of rural conservative families are family based. They are decent people. They just don't know and they're afraid and they get distracted by the massive amount of money that gets poured in by outside corporations to sway elections here. Because I guarantee that there was probably a lot of money coming from other mining interests outside of Montana.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. And we have Sinclair owning all these radio stations, and people in rural areas listen to radio.
Yep.
When they're driving around, they listen to radio. And there's a lot of nonsense on those stations now, and they're all saying the same nonsense.
Mhm.
If you ask your friends, they know the same stuff, and it's nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess, to bring this back around, because we've been
Right.
talking for an hour, is is what was I going to say? Um, there's a lot of work to be done, not just in this country. And one of the reasons I do the plant walks is to have people to just start thinking about the plants in a different
Yes.
way, thinking about the soil in a different way, thinking about their connection to these other beings in a different way.
Mhm.
So that's one of the ways I try to contribute. But as far as like politics, like our party is not going to get the job done. They're not going to. All the things we just talked about with clean air and clean water and the DEQ, like they're not going to get the job done.
They're accepting payments from similar corporations. Not,
Yeah.
I mean, not entirely, but yeah, until the whole funding of politics and the way that's done and elections, the election reform is where things are really going to change.
Yeah.
And I agree. And there's so much power in just connecting and creating community where people care about each other, where the message is we care about one another, we care about the earth.
Hmm.
We can get on board with that. We want our children to be able to hunt and fish or to be able to hike and wildcraft and like
Yeah. And
that's where it's going.
Montana is front and center of getting money out of politics right now.
They are. They
Mhm.
are. I'm going to go gather signatures for that.
Oh,
Woohoo.
nice.
Yeah. 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 The
Cool.
Transparent Election Initiative, TEI, is what it's
Yeah.
called. And we actually have they're going for 5,000 and I think we've got 3,000 votes now maybe or 3,000 signatures now. They're going for 5. So
How
Yeah,
many do you need to get on
I
the,
think 5,000. I'd have to look at the email.
yeah.
I'll give you that information.
Hey,
We can
there's
put
over
it
a
in.
million people in Montana. How hard can it be to get 2,000 more signatures?
Right. We're gonna, we have till June, so
Yeah.
it's gonna happen. So yeah, it's exciting, and that's the kind of stuff. That's just community, and I'm really excited. I'd like to go to a couple of public events and I'm gonna gather from my friends, gather signatures, but also be able to have those kinds of dialogues. Can I talk with you a little bit about this? This is a nonpartisan bill, and the goal is to get big corporations out of our politics. And I think the fascinating thing about that is in 1912, and I may have already told you this, in 1912, the Copper Kings
Mhm.
were running politics in Montana, and
Yeah.
they created an initiative. And
I know where you're going with
yeah,
this.
and 75% of the voters passed it in 1912. In 2012, after the Citizens United case and the Supreme Court said, yes, corporations have the rights. They're just like human beings.
Mhm.
There was it wasn't an initiative. It was basically a statement that was put on the ballot that said, we in the state of Montana, people here in the state of Montana do not believe that corporations are people and they do not deserve to have the same rights. And that was in 2012, and it passed by 75%. So to be able to connect with those people like you're talking about and say, hey, I'm an old tree hugging hippie. Like I'm a democratic socialist and I want to hear from you as a Republican. This is something we can agree on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's
The
exciting.
Copper Kings were actually also trying to get it into law that they could buy politicians. Like they
Yeah.
could just be like, I'm going to give you this much money and you're going to put this person into
Yeah.
this seat, which is wild. I mean, it's what's happening right now,
It's a little
but
bit more
they weren't even hiding it.
right. Well, and may I say, we're kind of back to that at the federal level.
Yeah.
It's just blatant. It's just
Yeah.
grotesque and blatant. So I want to say, the sustainability event is,
Sustainability Festival is September 10th. It's from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. And I'm hoping to have music and food truck and some fun stuff going on. I definitely wanted to have like a festival vibe. If you want more information, you go to bitterrootbotanicals.com and there's a sustainability festival tab up there, and that will give you all the info if you want to be a vendor, whatever.
and we'll put links in the
Yes, I will. Thank
beneath
you.
the video, right?
Yeah, we're
And
going to put
then
all kinds of links.
we're going to be linking you up here, people. Yep. And then and so then it's the 11th, 12th, and 13th is
Yeah.
the right? Am I
Yeah.
telling you right? Yeah.
Send
That
me
is
that info just so
yes,
I
I
can
will.
just copy and paste it.
I will.
A
And that'll
link,
be
any link you want me to have.
yes. And that's for the Gathering of the Mystics. And there will be a link for your holistic, yeah, Hawthorn
In
holistic.
my courses and
Yes.
workshops. Yeah.
Yes. Beautiful. Because we are going to change the world, Stephanie. We
I
are.
mean, I don't want to get off on a whole tangent. We can do it another time, but like the calendars are like we're in a new era. This is the era we're in. Cooperation, community, balance, harmony. The universe is like we're set up right now for all that. We just have
And for a moving out of, say that again, the last
we
part.
just have to decide to do it.
Exactly. And for moving out the old. Things have
Yeah.
been exposed. Look at what's been exposed and make a different choice.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you. Love you.
I love you too.
Have a good night. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be back soon with another conversation. Please be patient with us as we are new to YouTube and don't quite have a schedule down yet.